All right, excuse me. We're in the Monster Marsh tournament. We're in Wednesday's qualifying round, and I'm in my main account. I haven't played. I think I played my main account for a practice round on Monday, but I didn't have time yesterday to get it in, so I'm down to whatever I can score today in the Wednesday qualifying round. It's never good to push the limit. Normally, what I do is practice on a Monday, play on a Tuesday, and then if something goes horribly wrong early in the round, you can always roll the dice and decide to play on Wednesday, but I have no choice, so I'm going to play today. So I'm on hole 1 of the Monster Marsh tournament, and hole number 1 of Monster Marsh is hole number 2 of Sunshine Glades. Alright, this par 3. So my minimum club is right here, and I'm using a Guardian. And I'm using a nav. So let's talk about wind adjustment here, because this is going to play in more if you're trying to do the bounce over than it's going to play in with what I'm doing on this shot. So my minimum, my max club, which max clubs here, so it's 1.2 per ring, and a minimum club with my Guardian, I usually play it somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.7, and I'm, this number is, you can dial that in if you're in one of those shots, but just as a starting point, I usually play somewhere in the 1.7, 1.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. Usually I start at 1.7 and then I can work from there. So technically, since I'm in minimum club, I should be playing 1.7 per ring, or 1.5, or I could work that number. But I'm playing 1.2. So let's think about it. If the wind was going this way, and just so we have easy math, if the wind was 3.4, and I was using my minimum number, then I would pull it back this way 2 rings. But I'm using my max number, and I'm pulling it back from here, and I'm pulling it back just a tit shy of 3 rings. So that's a 1 ring difference. So I should be using this number. I should be using my mid number, or my minimum number, but I'm using this max number. So that means I'm doing a wind adjustment on top of the wind adjustment. So I'm doing an additional wind adjustment of, what is that, probably 40%. So I'm doing like a 30 or 40% wind adjustment, and so that's a huge wind adjustment here. But I've learned that sometimes, so when you watch a video from somebody and they go, hey, on this hole we use a 40% wind adjustment, or we use a 30% wind adjustment, is that 30 and 40 at max, or is that 30 and 40 at minimum? Because it's going to make a huge difference. Because if you're in minimum club, technically you should be using minimum numbers, and then you would do your wind adjustment. But instead of doing a wind adjustment, sometimes what I find is that I can use, instead of using the minimum number, I can use my max number, and I'm right on target. And that's pretty much how it's working on this hole. If I use my minimum number, I'm going to have to add on something. But if I use my max number, this additional that I put on over here has already been factored in. So I find that it's easier just to use my max number. So whenever you're on one of these holes and somebody tells you that there's a wind adjustment, you have to always remember that your wind adjustment is based off of like where you're hitting your club. So if you're truly hitting your club in mid number, you probably will have to use a 30-40%. So how does that really come into play? For me here's my max. Here's my red line, so I'm hitting the max number even though I'm back here in the mid. So I'm not having to add on anything onto my shot. But let's say you're doing the bounce over here with your long iron and you're trying to run it up there. If you're doing the bounce over here, you're already in max club. So if you're shooting this shot and you're doing the max from here and you're bouncing over and you're finding yourself always off, so if the wind was blowing this way and you're finding yourself always off to the left, you're not pulling out enough wind. So you're going to have to add on 10, 20%, 30%. You're going to have to keep working that number to find out what the right adjustment is. So if you're doing the shot with a long iron and you haven't been getting the success that you're looking for, you're already using max. So you're definitely going to have to add on some kind of wind, because there's definitely some kind of an adjustment here. It may be 10, it may be 20, it may be 30, it may be more. Right? So I know that if I'm hitting with my wood from the other side, I can use a max number, and I've already factored in one of these wind variables. But if you're hitting with your long iron and you're always off, especially if you're off to one side every time, then you need to look at your shot setup and go, okay, hey, it's pushing me, the wind's going this way, and I'm not drawing enough wind out, so I keep ending up on the left-hand side. You're going to have to start adding something onto it. Hopefully that helps, because trying to dial these par threes in, like if you watch my videos on a regular basis, I'm always trying to work on these par threes, and I start the week off almost with no notes. And I pick a spot, and then I'm going to go that spot, that spot, that spot, and then I start working the numbers from that spot. So if you're finding yourself off just a little bit, don't be married to your numbers. If you're off a little bit every single time, then if you don't make an adjustment, you're going to be off every single time. So we're on that hole, and I'm going to bring, let's go make sure I'm in the right stuff. I'm going to bring a Guardian and a Navigator. It'd probably be helpful to pick clubs. Guardian and Nav. And I think the last par 3 that's in this, I think I'm going to change up, and I've been shooting it with my sniper and a katana, and I think I'm actually going to change that hole to a Guardian, because the Guardian's got a little bit more backspin, so it can pull me, and that way I'm trying to see if I can work that shot so I don't have to use any curl. But on this hole, it's straightforward right at the hole. And I want my third bounce to be just a little teeny bit on the back side of the hole. So normally when I set up backspin shots, the first time I come to the hole, I put the second bounce right in the cup. And what it was doing was bleeding out. So I put the third bounce right in the cup. And what happened is that it was a little short. So then I went exactly about halfway in between, and I just barely missed it. So 3.7, that's 3.6. It's 1.2 per ring, so 3 rings is 3.6. I need to hit it perfect. Hitting it perfect. Let's see if we got the distance right. And still a little bit off. The only problem with this shot here is my distance. I'm right on track, and my wind adjustment's pretty solid. I may need to make a little micro adjustment, but I don't know yet, because I haven't been able to get my distance right at the hole. And I work these shots kind of like artillery. And when we're done here, so my second bounce was in the hole, and the ball was bleeding off. I put my third bounce in the hole, and I was a little short. So then I went halfway in between, and I was still just a little long. So I thought, well, maybe if I pull it back a little bit more and I split that, so now I'm 3/4 of the way between the second bounce and third bounce, I should be right on the hole, and I'm still a little long. So the next time I come on this hole, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that third bounce right on the back side of the cup. So it's still going to be in the cup, but it's going to be right on the back side. I'm going to keep dialing that in and dialing that in, because I like the, if I hit it perfect, I like where it's ending up, as far as it looks like it's right on track with the hole. So like I said, I think my wind adjustment's pretty good, but I don't quite know yet because of the distance deal. And I can't make any changes to the wind until I get the distance right. Distance first, then start working wind adjustments. And if you're a guy, you know how that works. You can only do one thing at a time. You can only focus on one thing at a time. There's no such thing as multitasking. We're either doing two things not as well as we would if we did them one at a time, or we're doing one thing at a time. That's how it works. All right, that was hole number 1 of the Monster Marsh tournament in Wednesday's qualifying round of the rookie division. And I'm liking the way that hole's developing. I mean, I'm right there. Just like one little adjustment, and on one of these holes, I'm going to end up getting a hole-in-one on that. So I really like how that hole's developing as the week's going on. I'm really liking my chances that either in the opening round or the weekend round, I'm gonna get a hole and pick up a hole-in-one on that hole. All right, thanks for watching.